A very good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to all our attendees joining us today. On behalf of Arch College of Design and Business, I am Shweta Saxena. I'm the academic coordinator here, and I'm delighted to host today's session as part of the Design Culture Learning Series, as you all know, which is edition 5. At Arch, we are celebrating 25 years of design education rooted in innovation, entrepreneurship, and community impact, very importantly. With a growing network of 7,500 plus alumni, we continue to shape the future of design education and creative leadership across India. Our film today showcases Pink City Design Confluence hosted by Arch in the year 2022. I would like you all to first see that film, understand, and we can then continue the session with our very prestigious guest today. Great. I'm also very happy to share that I'm very pleased to share that Miss Prerna here today. She also was a part of the panelist in one of the sessions in the Confluence, if I'm not wrong. So, and she also walked for Arch fashion show at JLF. I'm very happy to even announce it. All right. So, in the edition under the theme Form, Reform, Transform, we are exploring our 4 sub themes, as you all are aware, and some of you have joined today. I'm re explaining. So, there are 4 sub themes under the theme, which is Form, Reform, and Transform. The four themes are Creativity 5.0, Society 5.0, Harmonious Livability, and Design Leadership. Our goal remains to promote deep sensitivity to design as cultural expression, and shape future innovations who can lead change. Today's session aligns with our third sub-themes, which is harmonious livability, celebrating innovation and creative influence. I'm pleased to introduce an unparalleled talent today. Prerna is India's first jewelry influencer with a powerful digital presence and over 2 decades of experience in the gems and jewelry industry. She's the founder of Style Prayer and Jewelry Networking. Please let me know if I'm spelling it correct, pronouncing it correctly. And co-founder of Club Jeweler Inside Out, platforms that connect industry professionals and jewelry lovers through knowledge, networking, and innovation. With a background as a field gemologist and a well recognized jewelry stylist, Prerna brings a unique blend of technical expertise and creative vision. Her work has been widely acknowledged, including her recognition in the prestigious 40 Under 40 list by the CEO Story. Prerna has spent 23 plus years elevating Indian gems and jewelry, from creating bespoke bridal wardrobe and curated trunk shows to building an educational platform for gems through Style Prayer, and even crafting jewelry for pets. She blends design sensibility with strategic market insight, influencing both craft and culture. Let us now hear from her directly as she speaks on the topic Transformation, a journey into my life and evolving roles within the same genre. Please join me in welcoming Miss Prernaa Makhariaa on the session today. Prerna, I would like you to take on the session, and I was very happy to introduce you. So great to see you. Please, the platform is all yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that great introduction. Good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. Sorry, guys, I might look a little tired because I've had a super delayed flight and I've arrived at almost 3 in the morning from Jaipur. So,
No, no, you look
but
absolutely ravishing and fresh. There is no problem
Thank
with that.
thank you. So, everyone, I personally may not know you, and it's a great way of interacting on at least this Zoom seminar conducted by Aj. And I've always been very close to them, and it's great to, meet all of you. I would like this session to be more interactive. Um, Also, if you can give me the rights to chat with everyone, because right now I can see I'm only accessible to put the chat for the host and panelists and not with everybody. So, guys, I would love to make this more interactive. If there's any point you would like to ask me something, please feel free to put the questions in the chat box. And if I'm able to answer that time, I will. Otherwise, at the end of the session, we will definitely take up everything. Um, so, since this whole session is about transformation, let's begin with asking everybody. Have you heard things like when people have told you this is not possible and you can't do this and you're not good at it, and probably that's not how it's done. How many of you have heard things like this? If you can say a yes or put your hands up or put emojis in the comments, it'll be great to see about that.
So I will let me check
Yeah.
if they can speak, but
No, they can put it in the chat box. They don't
yeah,
need to speak.
yeah,
They
yeah.
can give their comments there.
Sure.
However, I'm not able to see their chat, so I think you will need to give me the right to access the chat. And
Let me just check with it.
meanwhile, also, if y'all can just quickly start introducing yourselves also on the chat, it would be great.
Can you check the Q&A section? Do you have the access to see the Q&A section? Because I think students are able and attendees are able to answer in the Q&A section.
Yes, but this is going on one-on-one. I'm not able to chat with everybody, putting an answer together.
What I think is that you may ask questions. They are able to hear you, and they can answer in the Q&A box. So they are able to answer your questions in Q&A box.
Um, I believe this will not allow me to reply to them if because
Yeah, you can
I
speak.
would want to
You
see
can
the
speak
answers.
rather than typing. Then you can speak to them.
No, no, what I mean is I would like to see their answers so that I can reply back on the Zoom to them.
But in the Q&A section, I can see their answers. They're writing yes and yes. They're writing answers. Not the chat box, but the
Yeah, yeah,
Q&A.
yeah. Yeah, I'm just checking the Zoom.
They're writing.
Okay, perfect. So, cool. So, yeah, so most of you probably would have heard something like this. And let me tell you, I've heard all of this and not once, but many times. And the whole idea is, despite of hearing all of that, my only motto always has been that one line that I've always told myself, be a trendsetter and not a trend follower. Watch me and wait till you watch me. Like that's my motto where I've always started my journey. And this is how it's been. So, guys, let me now introduce myself. The team has anyways done, but let me briefly tell you about how I started my journey. I'm Prernaa Makhariaa, India's first gems and jewelry influencer. And I just don't play with diamonds. It's sometimes I do, but for me, it's more about talking about stories and storytelling and experiences, bringing the best of everything across the world to all of you guys. Okay, so I'm going to try keeping the chat box open, the Q&A box open, so just in case if you all answer
We're
anything
yeah.
there.
So I just checked. We are also enabling the chat section. The chat
Okay,
section. We are
perfect,
enabling
perfect,
that. Yeah.
perfect. That'd be
For the
great.
attendees, they will not be able to speak, but they'll be able to write.
Yeah, that's fine.
Great.
So let me start by sharing a presentation with you. And okay, are you all able to see my screen?
Yes, yes, your screen is visible.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, perfect.
Very much.
So as most of you know, that I started my journey in the gems and jewelry industry almost 23 years ago now. And there are a lot of people who think that my journey started as a jewelry influencer. But many of you may not know that I started while I was pursuing my journey in as a bachelor's of commerce. I wanted to pursue character animation back then as a career option. But there were not many opportunities back way in 2000. This was 2002. And that's when I thought that, okay, jewelry, as you know, coming from a Marwari family, jewelry comes naturally to us. I mean, a lot of you must be from Rajasthan, so you can quite relate to it. So it came naturally to me, and I said, okay, let me try my hands on to it. And I must tell you, while I pursued graduation, I started studying jewelry. I did my bachelor's of commerce. Along that, I did with jewelry manufacturing, jewelry designing. I studied pearl analysis, and I think all the possible courses I must have done in the gems and jewelry industry. And there was no looking back after that. Like that world fascinated me so much. So I designed and manufactured jewelry for almost 12 years. What I'm trying to say here is that while I started designing and manufacturing jewelry, I did not limit myself to that. Like, since we're talking about transformation, for me, that transformation was always very important and it played a very important role in my life because I was always open and receptive to it. There may be people thinking, "Arey, ye kaise hoga humse? Ye hard hai." Everything is hard. Nothing comes easy. It's all everything is very challenging, but how you work towards it and how you try to overcome those challenges is something very important. So going back to 2003, this is almost 23 years back. Um, I didn't even know when I studied jewelry designing and manufacturing, I didn't even know how to get started in the business. There was nobody to guide me because nobody in my family is from the jewelry industry. Uh, and my mom was a big support for me. And she said, let's get started. Let's make your first piece of jewelry. And I still, I wear those diamond balis until now. Uh, that was my first piece of jewelry that I ever created. And through the word of mouth, I started, talking to friends and family about it, and it was my stepping stone into the gems and jewelry industry in the manufacturing sector. And while I was doing that, I did that under my label for a couple of years. And it was a great experience, but I thought I needed to do much more. And that's when I started working with a company called Tara Jewels back then, who were they were expanding across India. And I was heading their product developing and merchandising for a retail chain of 50 stores, which was again a new world for me because, someone being a private jeweler to now suddenly working with a multinational and you're handling PD and merchandising for 50 stores was like, okay, it's overwhelming. You don't know what to do. Uh, but I would tell you that it was that actually transformed my life into the gems and jewelry industry. And there are when you say that what transformation means, and I said that you need to be open and receptive to it, but you need to also be open to taking risks and putting the hard work. I see now, with all due respect to all the Gen Z and the Alpha Gen, they want everything very easy. They want everything on the platter, but it doesn't. If you want to make a mark for yourself without the backing of your family and make an identity for yourself, you will need to take that leap of faith and give yourself time to do things. It won't be easy. No journey is easy, but you will need to take that step and um, get onto that journey. So yeah, I started handling jewelry designing and manufacturing for them for a couple of years. I worked with them for almost 6 years. And within that journey, my boss back then, I was always very open to, wanting to try new things. So we worked on, uh, I wanted to be a part of, so, Swarovski was having their Gems Vision 10th year anniversary, and they were having a contest at that point of time. And I said, hey, I want to be a part of it. And he said, okay, go ahead and do it. And that's when we created, I designed and created this piece of mask where the theme was toxic attraction. And it happened to be among the top three selections from India on a global platform. So, what I'm trying to say here is I've always tried to be a go-getter. And that's where you guys need to work around. You need to learn to take risks because without taking any kind of risk, nothing is going to come easy. It's okay to fail. It's okay. There may be challenges. Uh, but आपको ये नहीं होना चाहिए कि मैंने try नहीं किया या I didn't give it my best. So even if you are trying one thing, give it your best, and it's okay if you don't make it. I mean, it's okay if you fail at it, but do not regret at one point saying ki shit, I didn't even give it a try, I didn't even give it a thought. And simultaneously, uh I was also working on my own independent jewelry label that I created for them, which was the collection was called Myra. And we did trunk shows across almost 15 cities in 3 months back to back. So, again, that was a new life for me, a new journey for me, because here I have suddenly, fame from becoming this whole designer globally who's created a Swarovski one of a kind piece. And then I'm also creating a collection which has gone viral across India. And you have all the possible media coverages, and you suddenly feel so overwhelmed and you don't know what to do. Now, the challenge that when I had one of my biggest shows in Bombay, the day we had our launch, just a day before that, I had a massive ligament tear on my ankle, and this is when I was going to give the invite to one of the celebrities in Bombay. So imagine, I mean, I can't even make you understand what that experience was, how let down I was at that point of time, but I had to because it was my show. This was my moment for my collection. I picked myself and I was like, no, I have to be there. I have to do this. And that was one of our most successful launches for Myra in Bombay with Bombay Times, Times of India, all the possible newspapers making um, making waves about it. So here I'm trying to tell you is, when we talk about transformation, it is the leap of faith that I took. I had to, I'm not saying that something like this will happen to you or, you will have a ligament tear or any of that. But the idea of talking about this is that you have to gather yourself, you have to have faith in yourself and take that moment ahead. So, so yeah, I mean, till now, any guys you want to ask any questions? Let me just open the chat box because I'm unable to see you all here. 1 second, sorry.
Attendees can all start writing because let us make this interactive. This is why we've opened the chat section. So if you have anything that you want to say in between, you can please start writing.
Yeah, just feel free if to ask any questions and if there's something else also you would like to know while that time, let me.
Ma'am, how you got inspired for making that mask is a question.
Um, okay, so the theme was toxic attraction, like I mentioned. And for me, in that point of time, while I was also working on Myra, for me, women empowerment was a big, one of the things that I always wanted to work on. So this mask was my first thought when I made the mask was when you see the women in Middle East, how sheltered they are and they're supposed to wear a hijab, supposed to wear masks to cover themselves. And this was that moment where I wanted them to break open from all of that and have freedom for themselves. So the inspiration was a hijab from the Middle Eastern era, along with, since we had to pray with Swarovski zirconia, the vibrancy of the colors was something that I wanted to add color to their life. Uh, Las Vegas is known for its, the masks over there, the Venetian mask and the colorful and vibe that they have there. So because this is toxic attraction, the whole thing was to attract the colorful vibe of it. And we went, and if you see all these rivets over here, this is from the medieval era where the women would wear armors. So it's a blend of their strength, adding color to their life, and at the same time breaking away from breaking away into freedom. So that's what we had created. And again, this was, in a way, it was transforming the whole life of a woman. Um, I'm not able to check the chat section. I don't know what's the problem. Let me just
So Prabjot is asking who was the celebrity.
for what?
That the celebrity I think who was supposed to attend, who came for your show.
Oh, so the mask was organized. This one was by Swarovski. So this was a piece that traveled globally for all their shows. But for Myra, in Bombay, we had multiple celebrities, and I have a couple of images of those I'll share with you guys later. Maybe I'll send it to you all, and you all can show it to the students there. I'm
Right.
just trying to access the chat.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so now I can see Prabjot. Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to share that with the team later and maybe you all can see it. After that, so once all of this happened, in fact, IIJ was also one of the shows that happened that time. And as a part of GI alumni that time, I had participated as one of the designers, and it was an absolute great experience. So the phase of 2011 to 2013 was very important in my life because all of these things happened back to back then, and as much as I look like a workaholic right now, I was one back then also. There were so many Sundays that I wouldn't even realize would go past, and I would be working on these because those 2 years I gave my heart and my soul to putting myself out there in the industry. And I think that is where people started recognizing me as Prernaa Makhariaa in the industry. So it's not the journey that started as an influencer, but it started back then as a jewelry designer. So uh, I think there are more questions coming here. How you got inspired to make the mask? So I just spoke about that, Vedika. I think you would have heard about it. So yeah, coming back to so then until 2014, it was a great journey, and after that, I was like, okay, I'm doing all of this. I'm having a great time. I'm enjoying all of that. But what next? I mean, अब कुछ हटके करना पड़ेगा, and that phase, I also started styling jewelry because while I was designing and manufacturing, one of the most important aspects for me was styling it. When you wear it, how does it look on you? When you're wearing a piece of earring, does it poke? Does it, or just look pretty on your ears? But the weight is driving you crazy that you can't wear it even more than an hour. So for me, styling became very important. And I think from a jewelry designer and merchandiser, transitioning into a stylist came as a natural thing because that was something that I really enjoyed. Uh, Sakshi is saying masks feel so powerful. It shows how strong and confident women can be. It's really inspiring. Thank you, Sakshi. Yes, the whole idea of the mask was that, and it was specially uh like an inspiration or something that I would like that I had done for the women for them to break away, from all the boundaries and stigmas that they have. Um, so coming back to 2015, that's when I took my sabbatical and I thought I want to be a part of the jewelry industry, but kuch to hatke karna hai. Like I wasn't sure if I still wanted to continue designing and manufacturing. I wanted that to be a part. I wanted to be a part of the jewelry industry, but also do something different. And the whole term of blogging and influencing was very new that time, 2015. I myself didn't know what was it that time. And honestly, I was not even on social media until then. Like people would tell me to make an account, and I was like, no, I don't want my life to be public. And like, it was for me, it was a thing that I was very uh, private about my life at that time. As much as the life of the jewelry designer was very public, but my personal life was very private, and I didn't want it to be on social media. So imagine me breaking away from that 2015 to we in 2025 now, where my life is completely public. But that what a change that must have been for me. So 2015, and I'm like, okay, no, I created my first Instagram and Facebook account and the website and this and that and all of that. And I'm like, it's it's a big change for me because here I am who's saying कि यार मेरा एक भी photo Instagram पे या Facebook पे मत डालो. And to make an account and imagine if you see me in 2025, where my life has changed completely. So uh, going back to that, I didn't even know how to operate any of these. I didn't even know what blogging or jewelry influencing was all about. And I said, okay, let's get jewelry industry. Mein, anyways, nobody was doing it back then. There were terms like travel influencers, lifestyle, luxury. There were global influencers in all these industries. In India, there was nobody doing jewelry influencing. So why I'm saying this is I identified a niche for myself that this is what somebody is not doing, or this is where the gap is. And I want to take a leap of faith to try that. उसके बाद देखी जाएगी if I'm successful at it, I'm not successful at it, that's a secondary thing. But I gave myself 2 years. I said, let's give it my heart and soul then, see where it goes. and 2 साल के बाद देखेंगे if I want to come back to jewelry designing and manufacturing, or if I still want to continue this, and firstly if I really enjoy it or not. So yeah, from there my journey started as an influencer, and today you guys, obviously, we are on this platform because many of you have seen my journey, especially the team at Arch has seen my journey over the years. So going back to 2015-16, the first 2 years were absolutely very challenging because I didn't know how to tell people I'm a jewelry influencer, I'm a blogger. I would speak to them and they would ask me questions like, "मैडम आप कौन से मीडिया हाउस से हो? आप कौन से पब्लिकेशन से हो? आप कौन से न्यूज़ चैनल से हो?" Uh, and it was hilarious. Like I didn't even know how to react to that, but uh, I had to answer those questions because I was making a space for myself. And I'll be like, no, ये Instagram पे आएगा, ये social media पे आएगा, YouTube पे आएगा. And they'll be like, हमारा यहाँ क्या काम है? हम क्या करेंगे इस पे? It's not for us. It's not for the jewelry industry. And I would get these answers all the time. I had to, but I had to keep myself positive. I had to keep the patience. So here the key point is I had to keep the patience. If I have given myself 2 years, today, if you want to give yourself as a designer or whatever you want to pursue, give yourself that patience and time and give it your best shot at that point of time. Because it shouldn't be like you're 50% here and 50% there. But आप जो भी कर रहे हो, give your 100% कि if that works, you know it's worked for you. But if it doesn't work, it's okay. You know that you've given your 100% and you need to try something else then. So at least that's when you know ki, हाँ, I have given my 100% to it. I see a message here. Did you completely focus on being an influencer, or were you also doing a 9 to 5 job in those 2 years? So until 2014, I was working completely. Uh, as a full-time job, and I think I wouldn't say it was a 9 to 5 job. I would actually even work for 12 hours. There were I think in those 6 years of working with Tara, uh I won't even realize how many Sundays I would have worked. I'm not saying because they asked me to work or they told me to work, but because those 3-4 years was so crucial for um my career, and I was making a mark for myself in the industry. I gave in my heart and soul to those 3-4 years. And I went even beyond extending all possible hours to work because I was doing that for myself. I was doing that for my own career. Uh, Having said that, so in those years, I started saving up for myself in a way that if I want to pursue something of my own, I have enough of my own savings to start something. And the beauty of digital and social media in 2015 was uh, it wasn't very, if there was an expense to it in putting that whole thing together because I was starting a new business. But I wanted to make sure that I have enough savings of my own from my previous jobs that I can at least sustain myself for a few months. So that was one thing. And did you ever feel like not work? Oh yeah, there were many times I would say कि अरे यार मैं ये क्यों कर रही हूँ मैं I was happy jewelry in jewelry designing and manufacturing. I had all the possible endless opportunities. I was doing great for myself. I was earning very well. Why did I get into influencing? And then I would come back to saying, okay, Prerna, you're not over with 2 years. At least get to 2017, see where you are then, evaluate it, and then take a decision if you want to make the switch or if you still want to continue this. So yeah, I mean, financially, yes, I did have a lot of challenges also in those 2 years because I wasn't earning at that point of time when it came to jewelry influencing. Those 2 years, I was putting money from my own pocket because I was investing in my business. So I even if in spite of making losses or putting money in my own pocket from my own pocket, I was investing that for myself. I was investing that as Prernaa Makhariaa. So I don't know 2017 may by the end of it, I would I would have made losses or I would have made profit, but I would definitely I had no money for myself. And I gave those years thinking कि तब देखी जाएगी कि where I stand financially and is this 5 years later going to financially pay me back or not. So, uh, 2017, by the end of 2017, it had started monetizing a little bit. And that's where my journey started. Ki, okay, this is something I enjoy. So the some of the key things that I realized that time is I am in the gems and jewelry space, something that I wanted to do. I've always been a people's person. I have enjoyed talking to new people, meeting new people, seeing what people do. So that was the second thing that I was enjoying doing, and it was allowing me to do that. It was allowing me to travel again, something that I wanted to do. Yes, it wasn't back then as much as what I do right now, but it gave me the opportunity to explore different synergies of working with people. And the third thing, the fourth thing, it I had to be super patient. And so those are the things that it I think you all really need to be cautious of when you are starting out in the industry. I mean, fortunately, now there are so many things and institutes like Arch who are there to handhold you. Back then, there was nobody to handhold me. I have carved and, made my own journey. So there were a lot of challenges back then. And now for y'all, it's very easy because there's so many things already available online for you. Today, it takes a second to check YouTube or ChatGPT or any of that to get any kind of answers. I didn't have answers back then. I had to make my own answers and I had to decide things for myself and take a risk on my own कि यार मुझे ये करना है नहीं करना है. So so yeah, so then my transformation started then. And after that, COVID hit, 2019. So again, by the time I had started monetizing little bit, COVID hit, and I was like, "Ab kya kare?" And but I was patient. I was like, "ठीक है." I mean, it's not only me; the whole world is suffering. All businesses are not doing good. Let's see what can I do that time. Fortunately, what worked for me then was that when COVID hit, uh, I had planned a month full of content of doing Instagram live and spreading education among people by then for the community that I had already created on social media. So I did, if I open things like I did my Martin Rappaport. He's known in the industry. Nobody doesn't not know Martin Rappaport. He did his first Instagram live with me back then, and it was a huge thing for me. So I had actually planned Instagram lives for almost 2 months, which means 60 days of pandemic with all stalwarts from the industry. And that changed my identity as a person in the industry again. It gave me the Gadha Majuri, which I was doing from 2015 to 17. In those 60 days, I uh, I milked that entire opportunity during COVID by spreading education with people online. And actually, our so us time, anyways, everybody had come online. The whole transformation of all possible industries happened during COVID because they understood the importance of going digitizing, of being on social media. And probably within our industry, that's when they started understanding the importance of social and digital media. They brands started selling online. Brands started creating their social media presence and having a brand presence online. And that I think those 60 days worked for me in my career, and it made a jump in the way people understood social media and they pursued influencing as. And that time, I mean, brands were approaching me to the biggest of the brands were approaching me to do Instagram lives with them because that would give them a digital presence. And we were doing phenomenal that time. And the idea was not to monetize. I was not monetizing during COVID. My whole idea was for me to spread education and awareness and build a brand for myself. So that's where 2019 and 20 things changed big time. Uh, by then, I had saved a little bit enough to sustain the COVID times. I so one thing I have always been very particular about is that I've never asked my parents for money. I mean, although I would have had all the possible, luxuries that they would have provided me with. But I was always very financially independent from the time I was 18. I was very uh, sure about that I want to make a journey of myself. And I don't want to go back to my family or my parents and say, ki mujhe paise de do. Uh, Once in a while, things, like as children, we always do. But that's something that made me learn that even when times are tough, or if I have to sustain my own business, I was able to do it myself because I was making an account of every possible money that came in that was being used as an expense and how much I would land up saving. So I think when you guys are starting your journey in the business, accounting is something that you need to really take care of because otherwise your business is going to go haywire. No matter what form of business are you in. You want to do jewelry designing, manufacturing, you want to be in the social media space, into photography, whatever you want to do. बट अकाउंटिंग एक ऐसी चीज है जिसका हमेशा ध्यान रखना because otherwise any business is going to go for a toss. Okay, so now coming back to the COVID times, I know I'm talking a lot about COVID because I'm actually emphasizing on that because that was when the whole digital and social media space changed for our industry. Um, just before COVID was also one of the most important events that I put together was the book signing of the Cartiers, which is the history of the brand Cartier, which pretty much most of us would be knowing over here. Uh, and I have to tell you, it's an interesting story how this happened. So I had known Francesca Cartier, who is a descendant of the Cartier family, and I know that she was writing a book and she was on her world tour for the book signing and talking about her journey in the family business. Now she's not involved in it, but back then, because she was writing the book, she was doing a whole world tour on that. And I got to know that she's coming to India, and I was in touch with her. And okay, now this is something I she was not planning to come to Bombay, and I said, "Hey, what if I host a book signing for you in Bombay? Will you be open to it, and will you be able to come?" And she wasn't sure. The moment she gave me a yes, and the time she told me yes, until the time we put the event together, I had 6 days, 6 days in between that. She said, "Okay, I'm able to come, but I'm going to have only 3 hours. And Prerna, you have to make sure that the event is put together in that." And there were 6 days to put it together. I said, okay. I had no idea. I had never done a book signing until then. I didn't know how to do it. हाँ तो बोल दिया मैंने. I said, ठीक है, I'm going to put it together. Don't worry, everything will happen. And then I'm like, shit, अब ये कैसे होगा? But and the other side of me is saying, Prerna, you will do it. You have to do it. You have no choice. You've said yes, you have to do it. So I said, ठीक है, करेंगे. Now, this is around 2020. By then, I had made my contacts in the industry as an influencer. I mean, I know that I could pick up the phone on anyone and tell them, I'm hosting this. I would request you to come and all of that and everything. So I picked up the phone, made my guest list, did all possible things, called up every possible person I had known from the industry. And until then, I didn't even know how to host a book signing event. So imagine in 6 days, I'm doing all of that, every possible thing, getting people to, come for the event, having F&B organized, having so the idea also here was we did the book signing at a bookstore. Being Cartier, I could have done it at a five-star hotel. I mean, that's ideally one would think of that, okay, if you're hosting Cartier, why not have it at a five-star? But our audience here was book readers, was people who would be a part of the industry, who are gems and jewelry lovers, and also give business to a bookstore where we would. So putting that whole location together and the ideation behind it was very important. And I think in those 3 hours, the moment she reached, we would have sold, I think, more than 700 copies of the Cartier's book. And you won't believe the who's who of the industry were queuing up to only get the book signed from her. So imagine the importance of a brand that Cartier has created and to understand the legacy and the history of that brand. Any and everybody from the industry was queuing up who you couldn't have even imagined standing in a line. So so here I am. I think that so why I'm telling you all these things is that I took the risk, I worked towards it. If it worked for me or not, I don't know. But I know that it paid for me years later at least because it helped me create an identity in the industry and it got me into a thing where, yes, she is a risk taker. आगे क्या होगा वो नहीं पता, but she's at least giving it a shot that, you know, you're creating something new. And I'm dabbling between different genres. See my path until 2020, starting uh, jewelry education, becoming an independent jewelry designer and manufacturer, then working with a multinational where I'm heading product developing and merchandising, moving into a space where I've become a stylist, then becoming a jewelry influencer, then also getting into a path where I'm organizing and hosting events. So you see the circle where I'm making changes everywhere in my life, although my industry has been gems and jewelry only, but I'm playing different roles into that industry. Uh, Here, then during COVID, I also started an initiative, which is a not-for-profit initiative called hashtag support Indian jewelry designers and hashtag support jewelry designers. The whole idea of putting that together was to support um, independent brands and designers who've just started their journey in the industry. And in fact, you all feel free to use that hashtag because a lot of times I give shout out to brands who are doing out of the box work in this industry on my page. And this is something I do that out of choice because I want to give them the platform to, for their work to be recognized. So please, all of you all do make note of that hashtag. I'm going to also put it in the chat box here so that moving forward from there. So then uh when the period of COVID went past, by then the digital and social media industry had already transformed into the social and digital media space.
Before,
I
sorry,
mean,
sorry. Before we go further, there are two points that Kavya and Harshita had also mentioned in the
one
chat
second.
box. That how did you handle social media and how did you manage to get interview with Martin? So
Okay. So how I handle social media, until back then I was handling most of the stuff myself. But I did, fortunately, I had a lot of students who were interning with me from various institutes back then, and especially during COVID, who were very supportive. I mean, for them, it may have been an internship, but for me, they were also helping me with a lot of my work back then. And Bhamini is today over here on the group. She's been with me from then, and It's been a long journey for her as well. Maybe she'll be able to also share some of her experiences because she was interning with me back then during COVID days, and now she's a part of our team. So it's yeah, like going back to your question, back then I was handling most of it myself. But then as times change, as work increases, um, one needs to understand that you can't be micromanaging everything. You need to have dedicated experts looking after things for the strength that they have. I have a team of social media. I work with photographers who are in-house and also freelancers. So the team increases, and tomorrow when you are also venturing out as a designer and a manufacturer or whatever you do, you will have to have people on board when you are in a phase of growing. Initially, maybe you have to do everything yourself together. Like I had to do pretty much when I started my career, I had to do everything myself, literally. And I was okay doing that. I didn't have any qualms कि यार मैं ये नहीं कर सकती हूँ मैं ये कैसे करूँ um, you know it's beyond my thing that, oh, I'm an influencer, why should I do this? Today you won't, I mean, if you are working with me at the shows, you will see I will probably even sit on the floor and shoot a piece of jewelry if for me that piece is coming, the way it has to be shot or the way it comes out is correct. I will not feel hesitant that shit because I'm an influencer or how as a human I can sit on the floor and shoot a piece of jewelry. No, you have to be adaptive to everything because that's when you will have the confidence to do any and everything in life. I mean, I'm not saying कि आपको जमीन पे ही बैठना है to do that, but it's just one of the examples what I'm trying to say that be open and adaptive to everything in life because you never know what comes your way and what opportunity strikes and where you have to, make a jump in your career. For me, I'm telling my own circle of life you've seen where it started from and where it's coming into. And um, how did you manage the interview with Martin Rappaport? So, like I said, until by then, I had built a lot of my connections in the industry. Um, and I was I had known somebody in Rappaport that time who was one of the chief editors, and it was really it was very sweet of her to reach out to Martin, and I had also reached out to him on email saying that, hey, I would like to do an interview with you. So, the question here can be often you may think, अरे यार मैं उनको कैसे approach करूं वो मना कर देंगे. How will he do an interview with me and why should he do an interview with me? And but I think for me that was never a question. I was like, क्या at the max he's going to say me no, right? मना ही करेंगे ना. That's all he can say. He'll say he's busy, he's not able to do it, or any of that. But at least I have, like I said, I have at least given it a try. All is that is I'm going to hear a no. That's it. And it's okay. It's fine if I hear a no. I'm not going to feel bad about it. But for me, what it worked is he was open to it. And he was on the interview on the Instagram live for more than an hour, almost an hour and a half. And you can't believe where all people joined from. Like at that point of time, despite of different time zones, people being in the middle of the night or 3 in the morning somewhere in the world, they were all open and they were all on the Instagram live because it's a huge thing for Martin to be doing his first Instagram live and a stalwart from the industry doing that with me. Like for me, I can't even like I'm getting goosebumps right now when I have to explain that moment. But it worked for me. Whatever it was, it worked for me in my career. Um, Cool. Okay. So let's move forward. And after that, obviously, a lot of opportunities struck, and the digital and social media space changed for the gems and jewelry industry. And I started working with brands, approaching them, working with all different shows. So, as an influence from an influencer, I also started to being qualified as an industry expert. Because you see, where I started my journey as a jewelry designer manufacturer, I had known my product well. So there I started claiming myself as an industry expert and also talking about education, confidently talking about what my take on product was, and with and also doing simultaneously working with all big houses, auction houses, jewelry brands, traveling across the world, bringing some of the best jewelry to you. So I adapted to every single role that I played in my life. And I think that somewhere really worked for me, staying flexible, being curious about knowing, what people do. Conversations were very important for me. It was important to, okay, it was not always about business, but for me, it was important that I go meet the person, I go introduce myself to them, I talk about them. There were times I would feel shy also, कि मैं कैसे इनसे बात करूं? But then I was like, if I don't talk to them, there's a line my mentor used to tell me, uh, आज अभी नहीं तो कभी नहीं. So, if that moment is something that you lose, you never know when it's going to come back. So you have to hit the nail when the moment you can strike that opportunity. Don't lose out on it. नई बात हो सकती है, that's a different scenario. But don't give up on not trying it. So yeah, I was always inquisitive and curious to know things. I was flexible in adapting to situations, going by what the scenario was over there, connecting with people. So those are some of the things that would work even for y'all. And then obviously, as people recognize the work that was happening and all of that, awards came in. Being I was on various panel discussions to talk about it. And here are some of the journeys and case studies that we worked on. You know that worked for me in my space, and along with that I also added a vertical of being a personal jewelry shopper. So now that was another new venture that I was starting, where because I'm a qualified industry expert, I added the role of being a personal jewelry shopper, going back to where I started my journey from as a jewelry designer and manufacturer. So here I'm working with a lot of people, helping them buy their jewelry, creating their jewelry trousseaus. Again, this was a new journey for me. Started from where I started my career. And alongside, I then moved into last year, introducing a vertical called jewelry networking, where we connect people from all different kinds of, who are designers, all different kinds of service providers to people in the gems and jewelry industry. So y'all being, in fact, y'all, it would be a great way for y'all to be a part of it, because there are so many brands who reach out to me looking out for designers, for merchandisers, for people who are wanting to explore in the gems and jewelry industry. And I think it would be a perfect way for you all to also connect with them. And I think for now, this is it from me. And if there's anything that you would like to ask, I think you can put it in the chat box, or you can even, um, you know, um, unmute yourself to ask questions.
Okay, people, attendees can put up their questions in the Q&A section. There is one question that we have. Okay, before we start the Q&A, it was a lovely, lovely session from you. I think we
Thank you.
learned a lot. Generally, we know things. It's not that we don't know things, but the journey of people explains it how you can also try from the step one. People know that step 10th is the destination, but how
Yeah.
to reach there, you've explained it, I think, very beautifully. I think because of why we have a lot of questions. So we have a question from Darshana Jain. As you say, 2015-16 was very challenging. You invested your own money in designing. So can you put your jewelry in your own family shop, as you say your family have jewelry shops? Why didn't you do that? Something similar to like if your family had a jewelry store and then could you not have worked for them? Maybe. I think this is what she means.
So I didn't have anybody in my family from the jewelry business. I'm the first generation starting that out. There was absolutely nobody remotely in my family in the jewelry business. So it was a journey that I carved for myself. And my family has a different business altogether. So coming back to your question, so obviously because I'm the first generation of the jeweler in my own family, there was no question of me putting my jewelry into the family jewelry store because there wasn't one. Um, I could have had a store of my own, but I was taking different directions in life. I always wanted to be a private jeweler, and I didn't want to invest into having a jewelry store at that point of time. And this was way back in 2012 and 13, where I was already working for a multinational. 2014 is where I took my sabbatical, and I was still dabbling between opportunities if I still want to continue being a jewelry designer and manufacturer or try something different. And the answer in calling was something different. Had I stuck to being a jewelry designer and manufacturer, then maybe by now I would have 100% had a jewelry store. But my direction was and calling was altogether something different. If that answers your question.
All right.
Is there a way they can put the questions in the chat box here? Because if I have to even give them some answers, I
Can
can
you access the Q&A? There is a
No,
Q&A.
it's not. I'm not able
It's
to see it here.
not
Maybe
able
I'll
to.
have to stop sharing. Let me see, and then I might.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yes, now I can access it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anonymous attendee, other than financial decisions you mentioned, what were some early decisions you made that enable long-term growth and transformation?
Okay, so there's this question here. How did you face the media? Kavya is asking, or people when I was showcasing when I was showcasing my jewelry. So Kavya, I think one thing that has worked is that I have always been a people's person. Um, I've enjoyed talking to people. There have been times that, anyone may hesitate to talk to someone, and it's natural. It happens to me also. But the thing is, like I said, if you lose out on that opportunity, when are you going to talk to that person? You never know when you're going to meet them again. And if you don't, I'll give you an example right now. It just happened 2 days back when I was at the jazz show in Jaipur, and Mr. C.K. Venkatraman, who is the MD of Titan, was there. And he being a big personality, you would see that people were flocking around him. Everyone wants to speak to him, everyone wants to be with him. And if I want to do an interview with him, I have to make my own space. I have to barge into all of those media people standing there and make that conversation with him and strike an opportunity to talk to him to do an interview. There may be a chance that he would say, I don't want to do an interview, but at least I have gone there and introduced myself to him and made my presence felt that, okay, uh, here I am, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, and can I connect with you later? So, likewise, when it comes to you saying, what was people's reaction when I was showcasing my jewelry? For me, it was always about making a mark for myself, and at the same time, also being open to being appreciated or being criticized. You, I think, along with all the good things, you also have to be open to the bad things and the bad response that you may get, or any kind of criticism that you may get. But the good part here is that should not um, it should not dishearten you. It shouldn't bog you down. It should be a learning for you because that will then make you bounce back stronger. Uh, and similarly, when media people would, there are so many times as an influencer, I get trolled. I get so many, there are so many comments that also come on the page that, may be disheartening. But it's a part of the business. Even if you are a designer, it's a part of your business that you are going to get criticism. So you have to learn to bounce back to it and take it in a positive way. So I think that should be that is what I would like to at least tell you. Okay, we've answered how did I reach out to marketing. Then we've done Darshana's question. Other than financial decisions, you mentioned what were some early decisions you made that enable long-term growth and transformation. So I was long-term decision, I would say, like, I was patient enough for 2 years. I gave myself those 2 years thinking that if ये 2 साल में कुछ नहीं किया, this was when 2015, 2017, ये 2 साल में if I'm not able to do anything, then I will go back to jewelry designing and manufacturing. And for a long-term growth and transformation, I think one needs to have a parallel source of income despite of whatever you're doing. Like it's always said that don't put all your eggs in one basket. You need to have certain you need to make a vision board for yourself. You want to put down where you want to see yourself 5 years from now, where you want to see yourself 3 years from now, where you want to see yourself 1 year, and then break it down into every month. What are you achieving out of that to that 1 year? There may be certain things you're not able to do, certain things you're able to achieve. But if that is working towards your growth and transformation, I think you are still moving steps ahead. So at the end of the year, then you evaluate that is this something that you wanted to achieve in that year? Because then you know how to plan your steps ahead. That is something that I would suggest. Then we have, ma'am, what matters most in the journey of becoming a creative and successful jewelry designer? Just be who you are. People will tell you, don't design this, don't do that, don't any of that. If it don't give up your creative side. I mean, if you are working in a world where there is commercial jewelry to sell, yes, to have your bread and butter, you will want to do that, and which is fair enough. But along with that, keep a collection of yours which allows you to go all out in terms of creativity. Because otherwise, you will lose in this business, you will lose that side of you. And if you see today, there are so many designers who leave that and forget that creative side of them because they're only in the rat race of making money. So if you want to have that balance, you want to have that creativity and also monetize at the same time, you will need to evaluate both of it and keep that side alive of you and not forget that you are still wanting to pursue a creative journey. Um, then comes Vedika, ma'am, have you experienced the time where you felt like today giving up and how did you manage to survive it? I feel that every single day. Every day when I come back from a show or I'm at a show, at the end of it, it's like, Arey yaar, shit, why am I doing this? But uh, I also enjoy that equally. Till I've not had a crazy manic day. Uh, at the end of the day, I want to come back to my room and say, I'm tired. I've had a long day. But at the same time, I also feel it's been a fruitful day. So, that's for me that drive of going back to the show the next day or going back to work the next day is something that makes me survive. I mean, imagine I'm back at 3 o'clock in the morning from 4 days of a show and still with you guys over here on the chat and then still now starting to prep up for IIJF. So it's going to be, and before that I'm leaving for Singapore in 2 days. So already preparing for another show before I um, uh, start working on a normal day today. Then how is the future of jewelry industry in your perspective? So are you so Tanu, are you asking this from a global perspective or are you asking about the Indian jewelry industry? I think if you can be a little more uh, precise, that will help me answer better. Vishal is asking, ma'am, I have a question. My question is about diamonds. When I go to the market, everyone says these are natural diamonds, but how do we differentiate which one is natural and which one's lab grown, and all provide different certificates. Some give GI, IGI, Tanishq in-house. Your your question is very varied, Vishal. So when you want to distinguish between natural and lab-grown diamonds, there are a lot of technologies, there are a lot of instruments that will help you identify natural or synthetic or lab-grown diamonds, or even if there are any other simulants. So that can be one of your ways to identify that. Uh, but certificates, yes, GI until now was doing only natural. They are doing lab grown and they will be doing lab grown. IGI has always been doing, you know, lab grown. So that would be another way, like you mentioned here. But Tanishq has in-house certificates. I mean, honestly, for that, I'm not the right person to comment because it's a brand taking their own call. So, you know, that would be a very individual perspective that what they certify their diamonds as. But if your question is how you want to identify and differentiate between them, then maybe you can look up a lot of equipments that are available to distinguish natural and synthetic diamonds. That should be your way because right now, I think even for humans to identify from a naked eye or with a loop the difference between natural and lab grown is a bit challenging unless something comes out which actually makes us differentiate between the two with a naked eye. So I think that should be your way forward. And so Stanu is asking in between. So global see right now, Indian jewelry industry is booming, and the crafts of India is something uh, which is going on a global platform. And you guys are experts in that. I think that's something you all should definitely pursue because the Indian jewelry on a global platform is making waves. Global jewelry industry obviously is doing great. Uh, there may be times that it is a bit slow because of the diamond prices being affected, the gold prices going high. That variation is always going to be there. There are times even the global industry is great. There are times global industry is slow. But overall, I would say the Indian industry is booming and make the most out of it while you're in the drive of it. Any other questions, guys? Anything else that you all want to ask?
Attendees, if you want to ask, we're going to take one last question. If you have any question, any other question,
And any of
I'm.
y'all, if y'all are not following me on Instagram and Facebook, please do that. And with regards to jewelry networking, I think y'all all should be a part of it because it will allow you a lot of opportunities to connect with people from the industry and also in terms of if they're asking me for any kind of because a lot of times they're looking for designers to do their collections. So I think it would be a great opportunity for them for y'all to be a part of that.
Before we end the session, I think I have, not a question, but if there is any advice you want to give to, students who are entering now into learning jewelry, they're going to start their learning process and get into. Is there any advice that what should be their main focus in, today's time, being a blogger, what is trending and what should be the main focus in, moving forward from students who are now getting into learning jewelry?
So one thing I think they really need to have is patience because patience is a key thing for you to not give up easily. Challenges will come. There will be a lot of times you feel tired, exhausted, drained. Uh, People will say, there will be good and bad comments, but the question is how you bounce back from that. And you will need to be really patient for that. Like you need to allow yourself some time to test yourself because if you've not tested the waters, how are you going to even come to a conclusion if it's worked for you or not? And maybe out of that entire process of uh, trying something, you may realize it's worked for you or not, or maybe your calling is something altogether different. So you have to, at least give it that shot and patience for that sort of a journey. And if you are, I mean, now Arch obviously has such great courses. And from the times that I have studied jewelry designing and manufacturing 20 years back to now, I think they do a great hand holding and give you all opportunities to work in the industry. So I think if you all are doing any kind of internship, please make the most out of that, because and meet as many people as you can, go to as many trade shows as you can, because that's where you will start building your connections. That's where you will start understanding who's doing what kind of jewelry, what prices they are charging, what kinds of jewelry people are doing. It will give you a huge broad perspective. Like when you are, if you are, for example, Arch gives you an opportunity to showcase your jewelry at the show. Make the most of talking to everyone who comes and sees your jewelry. Make the time that you go and visit the show during that time, because you have the best opportunity to go and see the jewelry that time in the show. So I mean, there are field trips that they organize, I organize. Try being a part of it if that's something that you enjoy doing, because that will allow you to give you so many different perspectives from the world.
Great.
Yeah.
I think it's an advice to all the designers, all the students who are not just getting into jewelry, but they're getting into the field of learning design. It's a great thing. All right.
Um,
So for the last question, in future, people will take gold or will they shift to silver? This is the last question. We're not going to be taking more questions. If you have anything, of course, we have a feedback form where you can write all of these and you can directly come to us and ask questions. So about gold and silver, people are going to be
uh,
shifting.
So I think, because this is a phase of where gold prices are rising, but India as a country loves gold. People over here
Absolutely.
absolutely, even in forms of investment, or be it jewelry, or be it getting married or anything, uh, India loves its gold. So, it's not going anywhere. There may be, yes, jewelry is already being made in silver, diamond jewelry or any polki or any of it is already being made in silver. So that is always going to be there. Or maybe it is made more in case if gold prices are, skyrocketing the way they are. But gold is not going to go anywhere for sure. So, I mean, that I don't think there's any sort of insecurity people need to have on that.
Right. So to conclude our session, thank you, Prabjot. I think yes, you're right. She looks amazingly gorgeous for the compliment. It's very
Ah,
beautifully written.
thank you.
But amazing, amazing session. I think I have learned a lot, and this is something that probably we also want to, learn, relearn, unlearn. All of that process goes on. If you listen to people's experience, especially from someone who's already established in the industry, then we at least know that what is the process and how can you really go about it. So thank you so much, Prerna, for sharing such inspiring perspectives with all of us. I mean, your journey
Thank you,
reminds us
Jyoti.
that creativity, expertise, and authentic voice can really transform traditional craft into global influence. And have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.